Tuesday night at the fan preview screening.
Bougie.
I saw this
It's a fan preview screen.
I saw that's what they call it, like fan preview premiere or whatever.
Rub it in our face.
That's the.
We're apparently
I
not
saw
fans.
it, and then we saw it on Wednesday at the AMC Investors screening.
the AMC timeshare screening.
Yep.
I love that bullshit.
And then
In a Dolby
I
theater,
saw
though.
it Saturday again in IMAX, and originally my original thought coming out of it was this is like a 9 out of 10. After seeing it 2 more times, this is easily one of the best comic book movies ever made.
It's
this
fantastic.
is phenomenal.
The one time that I saw it, I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Look, I didn't need to see it more than once. That's all I got.
I took it and I was like, I don't need anything else to know that this was a great movie.
But you said you do want to watch this again, but you're gonna wait till it comes to HBO
I'm
Max.
gonna wait for it to come to HBO Max. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna pay for it again. I will wait until it comes out. However, I do feel like I'm gonna miss because we saw it in a Dolby theater where that sound is unlike anything any other movie theater can come close to.
Are you sponsored? Like, what the fuck's going on here?
What are you, Nicole Kidman?
Heartbreak feels
Just heartbreak
good here, Dan.
But either or, I mean, I feel like it will never be the same way because every single punch or loud noise in that movie just runs through the entire theater, and you feel it in the seats.
And
it
right
was
out the back door
unbelievable.
if you're John Sagendorf,
Yeah.
because I could
He
taste
farted
his farts
the whole time
through my mask.
You shouldn't have fed him beforehand.
That's a war crime.
That was your fault.
That's a war crime.
It is. But yeah, I think this is absolutely phenomenal. Non spoilers, like so cast. I just have Bobby Patterson,
Batty bat bat.
Robert Pattinson absolutely destroys in this
very
movie.
good.
Every single scene he's in, he's just fucking unbelievable.
His take on Batman.
I'm back. I am
Batman.
Bobby Patterson as Batman.
His take on Batman. Said it again.
All right,
He did
Dan,
good.
no more. Take a
He
lap.
did good. And I just want to say, for the record, I never had any doubts. I said every single time that his Batman was going to be fucking awesome. I said it since the moment they cast him. You need a nuanced performer. Somebody who could deliver a nuanced performance to be Batman Bruce Wayne.
Do we have proof to back this up? You
Dude,
said this?
We do.
there's-
He's been saying
There's
this
no
for years.
fucking
Really?
way
I don't
that
remember
it
this.
didn't end up on this show that I've been saying Robert Pattinson.
Let's go back
would
and
be
watch.
Great. Yeah,
Go
comb
run the
through
tape.
hundreds of
Run the
hours.
tape.
We'll wait.
Zoe Kravitz. I think she's a great Catwoman.
Yeah.
I think
Fantastic.
she's
Very
awesome.
good.
She's a very good Selena Kyle.
She
Colin-
drank milk like a cat to prep for the role.
I did see those
yeah.
pictures. Did you see that?
That was
what I showed you
weird.
yesterday.
Yeah, that was
I saw
weird.
her, she did it in the movie. She
Well, she drank a glass of milk in the movie. She lapped up like a bowl of milk.
I did not see
You did
that.
not see those? Yeah, it's
There's-
wild.
There's some, like,
But I will be going
black
home and
white.
looking it up.
Check them out.
Colin Farrell absolutely steals a show as a Penguin,
Mm-hmm.
and he's absolutely unbelievable. Like I think he shines over everyone else
Yeah.
in the entire cast.
His like weird accent that he was putting
Straight
on.
up from New York.
Yep,
Yeah.
the New York like 1940s accent that he had, and then the prosthetics department.
Oh my
Shouts
god,
out to
the
them.
makeup was incredible.
I
So
think he
good.
gave like a Gary Oldman level performance of like a character actor in that way.
Yeah, for
absolutely.
sure. He was awesome. Jeffrey Wright. I think he's really good too, but I don't think there's any real like standout moments from him.
No,
But either
Good.
everybody in this cast is great.
Yeah.
But my two, I guess you could say the ones I like that didn't, I guess like jazz me up the right ways were because I don't want to
Get
say
me
they're
going.
bad. I don't want to say they're bad.
Didn't hit how they should.
Like everybody's talking about Zoe Kravitz. I think she was, she was great, but I don't think she was anything better than like Bobby Patterson,
Bobby Pats.
Bobby Pats, or especially like Colin Farrell or Paul Dano for that matter.
I was wondering when you
Yeah.
were going to get to Paul
Yeah.
Dano. He's like literally the star of the whole movie.
100. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, he's
I have thoughts on that, but yeah,
knockout
Yeah.
performance.
He
great.
was really good. for the
John
most part.
Turturro,
He was great.
also great.
Also
Did not
very good.
expect that.
Yeah,
I forgot
had no
he was
idea,
in it.
I
Did
had no
not
idea
expect.
he was in the movie. And also, like, John Turturro can also play like super campy, overdone characters. This one,
Really?
he played a pretty straightforward Falcone. It was really good.
I was trying to think of an. Alexis was like, "What is John Turturro in?" I was the only example I could think of. I was like, Mr. Deeds.
Never underestimate the sneakiness. That's what I was thinking. Like,
Very
Stab my foot.
Jesus and the Big Lebowski.
Yes, that was my number
Stab
2.
my foot. That's right.
You're sick. You're no, I'm just kidding. I can't feel any of that.
Yeah. So Paul Dano's great. John Turturro's great. Andy Serkis for his limited amount of screen time.
Yeah, for his 5 minutes
He
of
is
screen
good.
time, he was very
fine.
good.
He's good.
He was for me like the hardest sell leading up to this. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to buy it, but I thought he really embodied the role really well. I just wish he was given more to do other than open mail.
Open mail, and also like his one contribution to like the investigation, it was very much like he was bored and he just started looking at all the clues that Batman
He's
had.
got a shit to take.
He's got
now.
a shit.
He's got shit to do, bro. They live in Dumbledore's old fucking office. All right,
with a housekeeper who that's a new character.
dude.
that
Shouts
now we
out
have
to
a
Dory.
housekeeper.
Shout
Yeah.
out to
Dory is accepted in the Batman canon.
I had no idea who she was, but I didn't not like her. I was just like, oh, there's a third person that's in
It's
the
a
house,
goddamn
which is
manor.
cool.
You'd think there's full of it.
There's
It's
of
not
course there's a
just
whole.
Alfred,
Well, it's
yeah.
Alfred runs the staff. Is pretty
Yeah,
much
yeah,
what it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
You know?
And
the
you
head
know,
guy.
staff are
Yeah.
meant to be, seen, not
HBIC,
heard.
head butler in charge.
Yeah, head butler
How do you
in
think the
charge.
rest of them feel? Is like they all work for the Waynes, but Alfred, it's like, okay, you're now our son's surrogate father, and you're in control of all of our finances and our business, dealings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rest of them are
pretty
like,
much.
fuck Thomas Wayne.
No, they're like they're fine. They're like, I'm just over here sweeping and dusting old ass things that have not been touched in 20
I
years.
have my own wing
I
of
get
the
a
mansion.
pension. I got, like we're in a union.
I got a pension.
Like we have
I got
good jobs.
Exactly. I'm comfortable with this right now.
We can get into a little bit more of their relationship later, but I'm just talking about cast right now overall.
Just
like
in
Alfred,
general,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, Andy Serkis.
For the-
Everybody's good across the
Yeah,
board.
Yeah.
Some more than others, but nobody turned in a bad performance.
No, like even like Jeffrey Wright, like I feel like he just delivered a pretty straightforward Gordon.
Yeah.
And I didn't hate it. It
Yeah.
was just he was Commissioner
Okay,
Gordon.
all right. So not remember boys, non spoilers. Story.
I just
Dory?
Absolute Dory.
or
Full of twists, but I don't think it's a challenge to follow because I
No.
think the writing is really fucking good.
yeah. It's a
was-
it's a mystery the
I
whole
was
time.
thinking
but-
about Uncharted when I was putting
That's
this
fair.
together.
I'm sorry.
And you remember how I said
Sorry.
at the very least Uncharted fails as a treasure hunting movie because the
Yeah.
treasure hunting absolutely sucks.
Yeah.
Even if this wasn't a Batman movie, it could still succeed as like a murder mystery thriller movie because the actual mystery is good. Like
Yeah.
I was invested in the clues and trying to figure shit out beforehand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and
I have
it
a
wasn't
different
just
take.
it wasn't just Batman. They gave Batman the riddle and he just had the answer immediately.
That's
like
exactly
he had
what
to
it
think
was.
about
That
it.
is
There was a
exactly
couple
what
times.
happened.
There were a
That's
couple
exactly-
times.
What are you talking about?
He didn't have. He
El
always
Rada
had-
Alada. Like
he had the
That-
answer to
besides-
the riddle, but he
besides-
didn't always have what the answer really meant.
No,
But-
that was my of the riddles. Let me go back a little bit.
you're really not as smart as I thought you were.
I'll go back a little bit. I definitely like the whole tenor and the story. It felt like an Arkham game where it felt like you were there with Batman, trying to explore, trying to learn, trying to do all of these things.
Yes, the world is built out.
The world
very
is built
well.
out, and that's super cool. It also felt like the bit of criticism I had. It was like it felt a lot like Seven, and it felt like Saw.
That's exactly
Yeah,
what they.
that's
That's,
exactly
what
what
they were
that-
inspired by.
Seven was
Which
what I was
I
thinking of the whole
understand,
time.
But I couldn't help compare, and I was like, I feel both of those movies took the elements that Batman was inspired by, and they had done it better. Like Batman didn't live up to its inspirations in those kind of contexts, but I did really appreciate it being a horror slasher type more kind of movie as opposed to like the what we could have expected from like an Avengers level of big bombastic superhero.
Did you think that's what this was going to be? I'm just curious.
Well, I didn't know what it was going to be. I was curious as to if they were going to do more of like a Dark Knight, which is like, very big timpani drums,
Hyper stylized.
hyper stylized, and this was a lot more subtle, which I didn't.
It was grounded.
It was grounded.
It was
Which
a
I
grounded
didn't think-
movie.
Initially, my reaction was kind of like, well, shit, like I kind of want like a big Batman movie.
You wanted the big bombastic.
But as
Batman.
I've sat with this more and more,
BBB.
I've come to like really appreciate how it's been laid out, how it's been put together. my criticism, like with the A and B plot, without like kind of like spoiling a lot of it, that got a little bit janky at some points, and I felt that was kind of like lost a thread at some elements.
Mike, I want to ask, what do you mean by A and B plot? Like, is
Without
B plot? I'm not
spoiling
spoiling anything. Is that seawall stuff, or is that? Or are you not even counting that as part of it? Like,
I'm talking like
No, that's a plot. That
I feel like it's all A plot.
It's all-
I
No,
can't
it's-
different.
it's-
It's
so-
so
so-
seamlessly
I
weaved
think
together.
some of the Catwoman
look-
stuff was a little B plot.
that. Yes, so it's
Yeah.
kind of like I'm gonna approach it as like A plot more Riddler, B plot more Penguin,
Falcone.
Penguin,
Yeah.
etc.
Which I kind of agree. I have some thoughts on the Falcone.
I think
stuff,
I think it was interweaved very well, but I think there were a lot of points where I almost forgot what was going on in the other plot, and not in a way where it was like intended to be like we're deceiving you or trying to get you away from that so something could surprise you, except for like one pivotal point. But
I think the biggest victory from this movie is that it kind of sets the stage for smaller scale plots rather than the big, huge, bombastic Avengers where it's galaxy level changing events. It's just it's in a city. It's a real life villain, and we can kind of reset the stakes of what a superhero movie is in the 21st century.
it was
I like that. I like that
tense
take
as
on it.
shit. This whole movie was so good, and so like there was not any like 5 minutes of the movie that I was just not like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Who's gonna like it was all of that.
It was
And
gripping.
That was
And
so enthralling.
there wasn't-
for 3 hours.
You clenched your cheeks the entire time.
entire time.
I felt like also like especially with piggyback off what you were saying, Nick, how like we reset the stakes of what a superhero movie is. I feel like that's reinforced by the setting of Gotham City itself is an actual living, breathing character.
Yeah.
Like the world in this movie is built so well from the very beginning that you believe that these characters like live in this world. Like I believe that this Batman exists in another timeline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I've
Yeah.
never felt like that after leaving a Batman movie
Can I
because
ask you, how does this compare to Dark Knight's Gotham?
I was just about to say that I kind of feel like
Separate,
I
like,
kind of
so-
feel
Separate,
like
but
like I don't want to do the fucking let's
Right,
compare game the
one-to-one.
whole show.
Yeah.
But
no.
like I
This
will
is a
say
very
this.
different movie.
I liked this representation of Gotham a little bit better than the Nolan movies because the Nolan movies, besides for Batman Begins, are just Chicago and Manhattan.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they don't dress it
Yeah,
up
yeah.
at all, which is fine because that's his style. It works for those movies. But like this was like, let's just turn Camden up to 11. You know?
Yeah. No,
you know?
exactly.
And like that's where Gotham is supposed to be
Yep.
in South New Jersey.
Is
Shout
it?
out New
Yes,
Jersey.
canonically.
I never knew that.
Yep.
I never knew that's where it was. But I like also like even when you get like those outside shots of like Wayne Manor and you look at that like architecture, the architecture all felt really gothic. It felt like it was its own city. Unlike what you were saying, Chicago, New York, and then like Pittsburgh for Dark Knight
but not to the
Rises.
same
It's just like,
extreme as like the Burton movies where it's like super over the top campy.
Hyper.
It's
Yeah.
like a nice sweet spot right in the middle.
I think,
Yeah.
I think Pat,
Yeah.
you said it really, really well. Where it's like they made Gotham a character in
Yes.
this
Yep.
film, and it. I love that it does throw us into that pre-existing universe. Like it took a lot of like 0-year Batman stuff. It felt so much more comic inspired
Yeah.
than movie inspired.
Right.
And I love
So piggybacking off of that, what I think is even more of a testament to the character of Batman, because personally, like, listen, I think that comic books are essential to American literature, especially in the modern age. And I think that some of these characters that have been created are some of the greatest literary characters that we have. If this movie doesn't solidify that Batman is one of those characters, I don't know what else to point towards for that. And the reason I say that is because Batman is a character in a world that you can tell stories without relevant stories about our politics, about our society, without changing the mythos at all.
yeah.
They told a story that was relevant about our politics, our day-to-day life, and it was a superhero thriller murder mystery inspired by Seven and Saw.
Yeah.
The fact that these things go so well together and they come out on the other side of the meat grinder and you get this is absolutely unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm like? I can't express enough how fucking good this came out and how like I love The Dark Knight, but now when somebody asks me what Batman movie should I check out, this will be what I point to.
Number one.
If you really want to showcase who Batman
Who
really
Batman
is,
really
who
is.
Batman actually is, this is it.
Now listen, I get why people don't, because there are people who do not like this movie. And now listen, the reasons aren't
shut the
for
front
that they
door.
don't say that it's a good movie. They say that they just don't like that take on Batman, which is
That's fine. That's a
because
fair opinion to have.
this is a super specific lane of Batman
Yeah.
that they are pulling from. They are pulling specifically from Year One, No Man's Land, and Long Halloween.
Long Halloween, yeah.
They're specifically pulling from those 3 books, and those 3 books are straight up Detective Batman.
Yeah, which that's what this movie is.
Right.
Like we were talking about with it being 7. This is a detective movie.
Right.
This is showcasing Batman's intelligence
and young
less so
Batman's intelligence.
Yes,
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
he is not yet the experienced, like,
Exactly.
I am the best detective in the
Yeah.
world. He's
the
still
best detective
learning.
in the world, but also just learning how to use some of his utility
Like,
that
you
he
see him
has.
get the shit kicked out of him.
Exactly.
Well, that's- well,
and you
I
see,
also-
well, oh, go ahead.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
Dan.
No.
The one thing I just wanted to say is I think it's really cool that it's finally going back to the origin of where Batman comes from, out of the like early 2030s, 40s noir detective
Yes.
comic books,
Yeah.
which is an interpretation we haven't seen in ages, at least on a big screen.
Yeah, and like hardly ever do you like again where it's not such a big superhero movie. You hardly see him like standing on the edge of a building, like looking down over the city. No, he's in alleyways. He's just hiding in the dark, and even like some of the utility that he uses, like the grapple gun or like his squirrel suit, he doesn't even know how to really use it.
I know.
like
Clearly.
he's clumsy with it. But what he has is he knows how to beat the shit out of people, and he has his intelligence.
So
punch,
I feel like that's kind of why people are a little bit upset, because listen, Batman in every representation of Batman is always nice. Like there's never a moment where Batman doesn't have the upper hand if he doesn't have enough time to prepare. That's always how
That's
it's
his
been.
thing.
That's like
his
his thing. Is
As
that
long as
he
he
will
knows what he's getting
outthink
into.
you in
Yeah.
the long
Yeah,
run.
yeah.
And like when I first saw the movie, no spoilers, obviously. When I first saw the movie, I actually had a hard time getting into it for the first 40 to like minutes to an hour, because I wasn't sold on this version of Batman, because my favorite version of Batman is the Batman that he doesn't get hit. He doesn't get shot. He picks people off silently first and then finishes off the rest like all nice.
Stealth archer.
Yes.
Stealth archer.
Stealth archer
yes,
build
yes.
Batman, yes. And like who's always got like a gat or a motorcycle that drives up a wall
gat.
and turns
Or,
around.
like,
you know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah,
Like when
has a button, and then it's like, boom, it's right there.
Yeah.
Everything.
Or
he's,
like-
he's always he has bombs placed in just the right spots.
Yeah, or like-
even like in the Arkham games, like every time I play those, I'm always
gel.
I'm in the shadows and I'm always picking people off. I don't get on the ground and start fighting people really.
Yeah. And this movie showcased the realistic practicality of using a batarang, because you would murder someone if you
Yeah.
threw a boomerang at
yeah.
their head.
I
yeah,
think this, for me, was some of the best tech I've ever seen from
Yeah.
a Batman. Not only just the gadgets, but when you get to the Batcave, you know, like the computers and everything, it feels like Batman the Animated Series, and it
Yes.
doesn't look like a regular computer. It looks like something he made himself, and it's so cool.
I love
Yeah.
his mixer when he turns down Nirvana and then he turns up his parents' death reel. You know what I mean?
He's got two
do
settings.
do 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 do.
But I have a whole section in here on his utility belt. Like,
Okay,
even,
okay,
like,
yeah, we'll get to
yeah.
it. So the last thing I want to mention. Oh, okay. Actually, there is one more thing before we move on to, because I actually have a cinematography section on this. Honestly, there was some pretty organic stopping points that they kept going past.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would say that's my only criticism, is that they could have ended
4 times.
4 times. Yeah, like 3 or 4 times before
Yeah.
the credits actually rolled.
Yeah.
But I'm happy it took its time, because this whole film is meticulously slow and deliberate.
This movie took its time the entire time.
Yeah.
The whole movie was taking
So
its
why
time.
would it rush the ending?
Exactly.
You know?
But like to that point, it's
This
like
movie is edging.
it is edging. I feel like it did not.
No,
need,
no, I was bussing the entire time.
I feel it did. Like it's interesting. This is gonna sound super contradictory. I think it did not need to be 3 hours, but it could not have done what it did without being 3 hours.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well said.
Like I feel like there was a certain part that they could have done away with, quite frankly, which we can talk about. Where that could have maybe chopped a little time off, but
a minuscule amount of time. I feel like
in the grand scheme of 3 hours.
I feel like there was a lot of shots that hung a little bit too long,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of really long wide shots that like you could trim at least like a couple, because you start trimming seconds off these,
And
all of
that
a
adds
sudden
up.
you
I know,
got
but
10
all of a
minutes off
sudden
the
here's the
movie.
thing,
I think
Gone.
it needed those to maintain the tension of it. Like there were things where it was like
Them driving away at the end though did
that was that was one of the
he
things.
was looking away a long time.
The end of
That is
the
true.
movie, the end of the movie, they basically were like, we have 4 different endings. I'm just gonna put them back to back.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
Yeah.
it's all the different stories ending. And the last one, which I guess you don't realize until the very last scene of the movie, like how much those two characters care about each other.
Yeah.
And like I didn't realize until the third time watching it that that's actually them parting ways. Like
Yes.
they're not
Oh,
working
yeah.
together
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah, yeah.
It took you 3 times to realize that?
very literal.
Well, you got to remember, I walked in with the knowledge, knowing that both these actors signed up for 3 movies. So, like, she's gonna come back for the second one. It's a moot plot point,
Bro, spoilers.
The one thing I just wanted to
chill.
point out, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but the shot that lingered, like that my brain processed how long the scene is lingering, where he's reaching into the top of the cage.
Yes.
I was like, wow, this is so long.
Yeah, which is like weird because any other director would have been like,
Yep.
this one's not a rat. And then it would have just cut to him standing up, taking the, the
Yep.
fold.
With that, I think it's kind of like the whole, like I'm saying, with the whole tension. It's like as he's reaching in there, you're like, it's like Saw in my brain. It's like, is something just gonna clamp his hand? Or like,
No, see, I never
the whole
thought
time
that.
was that. I was
Never.
like, if he
You weren't
accidentally,
thinking
like,
it consciously, but
Yeah.
your brain was.
if he like
No.
goes and he takes the thing off the top of the cage, does that flip a trigger?
Yeah,
or something?
make-
Here,
it's a
blows
trap.
up
Up
a bunch
until
of
this
shit.
point, he
That's
got
what I was
all those
thinking, too.
cards unharmed. I was
But
like,
there's always been
You
a
never know.
consequence
They can switch it.
around the card.
so
He's a Riddler. He's not a straightforwarder.
at a boy, Nick.
damn.
Not a sharp
I guess you're
shooter.
right.
So,
Okay,
wait,
so
can I say my one other criticism with it before going?
Well,
into
if
the
you
spoilers?
do, I'm going to give you one.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay, go ahead.
I think there were points that tried to make emotional elements and emotional I think there were points that tried to have an emotional feel that did not hit, and didn't hit super well or in the way that they intended.
Does one of them
to.
have to do with Alfred?
That's a big one.
Okay.
And that one, that's my key example for. I think that
I
happened.
mean,
3
fair
or
enough.
4
Upon
times.
further review, that plot point is pretty much just like it starts
Well,
here and it starts
yeah.
in one scene and it ends in the next. And I hope you guys know that in between there, somebody was directing Venom 2.
Oh, God.
And that's why there's probably not any more.
Right. I feel like that's the shining example for it, Nick. And then there were 2 or 3 other ones where that happened, and I was just like, this is supposed to be a big emotional moment, but I'm not invested in
Right.
it.
So my non-spoiler complaint is that at multiple times, Selena Kyle was wearing gloves, but she also had big, long fingernails. And I'm like, come on, man, just cut the fingertips off.
That's such a great point. That's such a great point.
Mike, it was a great movie. That's my big complaint.
That's so funny.
I have one other
That
complaint,
is
but
a
it'll
very
spoil.
realistic thing, though.
It was a stupid oversight.
Yeah.
Do you want to do final
Well, I still
reviews
have- I
before-
still have
okay,
some-
go ahead.
Mike's like, I'm sorry.
I'm just.
I still have 18
so I think
non-spoilery talking
So
points.
I think this is important to mention because this movie is the cinematography and the production design is absolutely gorgeous. I'm talking like every single shot is a painting. Like there is not one uninteresting shot in the whole fucking movie. Everything is beautiful. The color palette, the lighting.
The lighting is great.
All of the costumes look amazing. I mean, like, look at fucking Colin Farrell. The makeup on him is unbelievable.
Do you know if they filmed any of it actually on film as opposed to digital? 'Cause
I-
it
okay.
looks like it.
So
for a lot of it.
Here's
Yeah.
what they did. They shot it on digital. They converted it to film. They dipped it in whatever.
Yeah.
And then they reconverted it back to digital.
'Cause
Back to
so
digital so
much
they
of
can
it-
work with those
so
files.
much of it-
Digital.
We'll get into it later. It's like I feel so much of it also like, and I know I talked about this in the trailer that we talked about before, but I was like, this looks like The Godfather.
I agree, but
Yeah.
there's also way too much information
But
in the
there's
shots.
way too much shit going on for it to be. Yeah.
Like there's just too much actual
Yes,
like stuff the camera
God,
is
it was
seeing.
a beautiful movie.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And
beautiful people.
Of course.
it's true.
Very beautiful people.
No matter how big their teeth are.
Gentle gutters.
Gentle gutters.
Gentle gutters.
Tasteful gutters.
Tasteful gutters and
and-
gentle teeth.
Gentle teeth. And again, Pat and I agree. His body in this movie, Robert Pattinson,
Is rocking.
aspirational but attainable.
Yes,
But
it is not
attainable.
It is
Honestly,
not the Brad
at the
Pitt.
height of me going to the gym, I was probably 2 months away from that if I tried hard enough.
Don't.
I don't know
let's
about
not-
that one.
No,
let's
dude,
not
it's
tiptoe
not
into
that. He's
territory.
not that big, dude.
I know
Yes.
he's not
I'm not
that
saying big. I'm
He's
talking
also
about his
not that
cut.
tone.
Yeah,
he's
Dan
not
is,
that.
Dan
No,
is
he
very
isn't.
much
No.
in good shape, and I don't think you are 2 months away from that body.
No,
I am not 2
well,
months
no,
away
he's
from that,
Not
no.
the same size, but
No.
my point is he's not that cut.
What are you talking about, bro?
I'm saying Dan's in great shape right now.
Dude,
and I
if
still don't
Robert
think if he
Pattinson
took
walked
2
in here,
months-
he'd have a wider fucking.
Probably.
He'd have broader shoulders than us.
Probably. No, oh, Bill, he'd 100% have broader shoulders
Yeah,
than
for
us.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like
But-
in general, though, like he has a bigger frame. He's a bigger
Let us
guy.
know
I'm
what you
aware
guys
of
think.
that.
We'll post
Yeah,
a picture of
yeah.
Pat.
I don't
if
think
you
this is a
he
worthwhile
posts a picture
conversation.
of-
But yes, but no, absolutely. We
Me
should
and
try and do
Pat
it. We should
with-
try and do it by
Wanna do the
August.
Batman
Get the
challenge?
Batman
We'll do
bod.
The Batman bod?
Yes.
Okay. All
Cutting
right, let's do
challenge.
it.
All right,
Let's do it.
We're doing it.
All right.
Shut me up.
How
back here in August.
fucking perfect. So yeah, either way, that weird conversation done. 10 out of 10 score for me. I seek this out immediately. I gave it a 9 out of 10 first because I wasn't really hot on the idea, but like, what is this trying to do? It does it all amazingly. It's an amazing Batman movie. It's an amazing comic movie. It's the best movie of the year thus far. I don't know what's going to top this. Like Doctor Strange will be good, but it's not going to be
Avatar
this.
2.
I know. This is doing like the Elden Ring thing where it's
Yeah.
like a game and something came out so early and you're like, game of the year, movie of the year.
Yeah,
You're
like, what are we
it
gonna do?
Might be.
So that's where I'm at. What are you guys at?
Trying to.
I'll give it a 9.5.
Where-
I don't think it was perfect, but it's the best movie I've seen in years, and it's to me it's the #1 Batman movie of all time.
I'm trying to think of a reason to not give it a 10 out of 10, but I really can't come up with it. I think I have to go with a 10 out of 10. I can't think of a reason to knock any points off of it other than like total run time. But that's it. And I'm not going to knock it for points on that. So I give it a 10 out of 10.
I think initially coming right out of it, my initial reaction was like honestly like a 7.5, and then having sat with it for more and more, I'd bump it up like to an 8.5, too close to a 9.
Oh,